This is our Ryoan-Ji house in Kyoto, Japan that we have bought this summer with the aim to renovate it into something, well, hopefully quite special. And in this episode, we're going to talk about all of the different design struggles and the ways of how we overcame them to prepare the first iteration of the design proposal that was sent over to the contractors to get a proper quote for renovation from them, to understand the actual pricing of the project, which means that this design project that we have sent over is not necessarily the final design, but it is good enough to get the quote, right? I will divide this video into two parts. First part is going to be the virtual reality tour of the house, of the proposed design, to show you how different areas were solved and how different areas were changed. And then the second part is going to be me just showing you the PDF that was sent over to the contractors and just explaining different parts within the said PDF. And with the blabbing out of the way, let's move on to part 1, the VR tour. Alright, let's do this. So, we begin from the outside. Let me just move back a little bit here. This is our proposed design. In terms of the facade, there's not much that we want to change. We want to keep the building the way it already is, with a few caveats. First of all, the front gate, right, as well as the front fence. The front fence is a little bit lowered, right, by 1 brick to be precise. Let me get closer here to show you better. So by 1 brick to be precise, and also 1 row of bricks has been, each of them have been flipped along their long axis, I guess, to create this kind of a transparency between us and the street, right? So to basically create a little bit of a connection for those who are a little bit more curious and so on in terms of, what's going on with the building, right? And who lives here. I just checked if I'm still centered or not. Then, since we are lowering everything, the gate stands out a little bit better, which I feel like is kind of cool. And the gate itself is, just a regular swing door. I haven't created any interactivity for this door just yet, but it is just a regular swing door, and through it you enter. And in this case, I'll just teleport, behind them. Here, we try to keep things as simple as possible. So we have our stone garden, which is just gravel, a big stone, some spotlights here and there, or wall washers, I guess, and nothing else. If we will have any potted plants, those will be placed here. The reason why we did that is because we don't want this to overgrow, right? We want this to be easy to take care of, and when we are out, this would still be aesthetic. So that's a rock garden. Then if we look at the tiling here, the terracotta tiles, they move into the interior. So there's a little bit of a connection between the garden and the inside, right? The inner garden and the inside, or I should say front garden, because we will get to the inner garden in just a second. And when it comes down to inside, let's teleport here. It's pretty straightforward. We have sliding doors, we have ceiling height that is pretty low. I am 1 meter 80 centimeters tall, and the ceiling is, kind of 1 meter 90, something like that. So here we might end up doing a step that is a little bit lower, to facilitate for that. Besides that, not big of a deal. We have a little bit of an accent light to shine, to basically wall wash the entrance area, and we have our shoe storage and so on. Most likely there is going to be a coat hanger here, so the accent light will most likely be moved into this area. I would like to note that this is not the final design. Then once you enter, you're able to slide open this door, and enter into the first tatami mat. At this point, this is a completely clean, dry area. Am I still centered? Kinda. Okay. So in this tatami mat room, you can see that the ceiling height is not that bad, but all of the entrance heights, they are from the original building. We're not making them higher. They're 1 meter 70 centimeters, I believe. Let's check. Okay. So if my height is here or around here, so not 170, or maybe, yeah, close to 170, which is going to be a lot of bowing when we go through this building, which is fine, right? And the reason why this is so low, this area is so low, I'll get to that in just a second. Actually, if I were to, let's see, if I were to, click this, you can see a print screen or an image of an existing 3D scan of the building, of that particular area. So if I were to get in here, this is where the kitchen would go up until here, and there would have been a wall in this area, right? If I look further there, you can see, I mean, the 3D scan is not that great, but you can see, these tatami mats going on up into the back room, which we have demolished. We will get to the back room in just a second because you can see that there's a garden there. But for now, I just want to kind of keep introducing you to the rooms as we follow the design. We don't touch any of the sliding doors. We check if we're centered. We're still centered. That's good. And we enter the kitchen area. For the kitchen area, we basically are closing off that wall right there, right? Because if I look at it here, you can see that there has been sliding door, and I will be showing you images of it, but there used to be a sliding door here, and behind it, everything was opened up. So we're closing it off. We're closing off that area as well, which was also open. Actually, let me move into the kitchen a little bit closer. You can see that we had a corridor. It scanned very poorly because there was no light in that area, but there has been a corridor. I will be showing you pictures of it. So instead, we're closing off this side. This side, we're creating a kitchen counter. I should have chosen better material for the tiles. These look quite ugly. The beam, the central beam, becomes an accent that goes along the counter and fillets here beautifully. Some custom-made tiles will need to be made to facilitate the fillet. And besides that, we wash, we cook, we prepare, right? Nothing too fancy. And we eat either here, there. We haven't decided yet. Am I centered? I am. That's good. Another wall washer. We move forward. Storage, we don't touch, we don't mess around with this. Next room. This is interesting. And for this one, I will be showing you, and I will be talking about it in the drawings as well. So keep an eye out for that. More technical stuff will happen in the second part of the video. But basically, we have ourselves a niche that is formed by closing the walls there and there. So this used to be a corridor. If I show you, well, it's really hard to see, but this is the wall beam, right? Same beam as what you see here. And that's the corridor in the back, right? And again, the scan is very poor in this area because it was just simply so dark. It was impossible to understand what the hell is going on. But basically, we are demolishing this wall as it is in the scan, and we're demolishing this wall, we're keeping the beam, and we're moving the whole room into that corridor. So this is what's happening. The sliding doors here and there are to basically hide the ugly computers and so on from this space once we don't need to use it. Because of the chairs, we can't really have tatami mats in these two areas. So instead of tatami mats, there's going to be floor panels that are dressed like tatami mats. So you have wooden panel with a wooden framing around it, right? So the step size is still that of a tatami mat. In here, we don't really mess with things. We want to keep it as original as possible. We have our, how's it called? I forgot the name, I'm sorry, but basically a place to present bonsai trees, to present ikebana, to present artworks and so on. Enclove? Anyway. And this area is also untouched. But now it is going to receive indirect illumination or indirect light most of the time, right? Because this side is the south side, and we are forming an inner courtyard. So if I were to show you, bam, this is what it used to look like before. These sliding doors here and there are this one and this one. And then in the back room, we would actually have a back room. We're demolishing the whole thing, right? And we're creating this kind of a terrace, and we're creating a backyard, which is going to be much more green, much nicer than the front yard. Let me just move out here so that the camera does not mess, well, not mess up, but it's freaking out because it does get a little bit dark there. Dynamic range and whatnot. So here we will have a little bit of greenery, a little bit of plants. There are going to be neighbors that I have modeled out to a very abstract sense, just to see where the different balconies are going to be. We will have neighbors. We will have these quite, I think, nice rocks and so on which we can step on as we water the plants, if we need to water the plants, or as we take care of the plants. Also spotlights there, right? Those are the spotlights. Let me check where I am. There we go. back to the center. I keep on drifting away. Okay. This new area is indeed formed while the roof is we keep the same roof as what the project currently has, or the building currently has, but we're reforming the whole terrace on which you can just sit, enjoy, the nice little garden in peace. Hopefully, this is a peaceful part of Kyoto, so it's not a problem with the sound or the noise, and the neighbors seem to be quite calm as well. In here, in this area, well, that's a modeling mistake right there. We'll need to fix that one. But in this area, we have our bathroom, as you can see through the window here. We have our toilet, and we have our back room, in which all of the different cooling aggregates and so on, like different machines, are going to be placed. So basically, this would be sliding. Now I haven't made it sliding just yet. And these doors I would need to bend, to actually, or bow to actually go through these doors. But let's see, if we open them up, you can see that there is enough threshold for them to open up without hitting the sliding doors. Everything gets a little bit cramped, but it is what it is. And then once it doesn't let me step in there simply because it's like for teleporting with VR, it's a little bit too narrow. But I can, let me just check. I can just step in here, actually, walking over and washing, toothbrushes and whatnot, and then storage, most likely storage here as well, right, in this area. And then a wet room, which is going to be, recenter myself. Okay. There we go. A wet room, which is going to be a shower, which is currently floating. And it's going to be, what's the word? The bathtub, right? An onsen style thing with the privacy sliding shutters shutters, privacy shutters that will prevent neighbors from peeping into what we're doing here. But a pretty big bathtub sits 2 people without any problems. This was one of the things that we definitely wanted to have in this design. Moving back, close the door. And of course, once this is opened up like so, right? Opening the door is not going to be that big of a deal, but there's always a trade-off. Do you have it slide over all the way to the left or the right? Then opening these doors is not a problem. Or if you have it all the way to the left, then opening these doors becomes a little bit cramped. You need to kind of wiggle around, which is it's fine. It's not a big house, and we want to do a lot of things with it. Right, so now with this door opened up, I'll wait for the camera to actually adapt a little bit. It will not. Okay, it's a toilet, right? I forgot to actually turn on the light properly, but it's a bathroom. It's nothing special. You'll see that in the drawings. And then the last one, for some reason, okay, let's do it this way. If I were to move over here, I know you don't see me, just a second. And I teleport to maximum where I can, and I move back. There we go. Ugh. This will need to open to outside. Okay, we will need to be fixing this. But basically, in here, we will have our transparent roof, and this is going to be semi-open, where this is our AC cooler outer block, which basically with these pipes, it goes over into, well, over there. The pipes are going up into the second floor. We will have all of the necessary HVAC system units. All right, so that is basically floor number 1. And I kind of want to showcase to you the reason why, for example, here, the ceiling is so low, right? And the reasoning for that is, one second, I will just grab. If I just grab a chair, right, put it in here, and I go on the chair up, whoop, then you can see that we really don't have a lot of space for the roof, in between the roof and the ceiling, right? Everything is kind of used up, which means that we would need to raise the whole roof. And the reason why we can't really raise the whole roof is because, get me out of here, is because if I move over here, you can see that, well, where's my chair? You can see that now the roof, the central roof beam is kind of anchored to the middle beam of the house, which is right there. And technically we could raise this a little bit, but that would require quite a bit of reconstruction in terms of where does this actual central beam of the roof connect to. We might end up doing this. This is still a discussion, but that's a discussion for the second phase. Right now, this design is used to just get a quote, right, from the contractors. While I still have the nice chair here, let me actually show you the reason why the entrance area, this area, is also has this ceiling that is so low. If I go up here and I take a look at it, this is the gap in which we can place heat insulation, right? Because above it, this is metal, and this is our tiled roof, bottom of the tiled roof, and we basically have like 2 centimeters, even less here. Ooh, that's gonna be, okay. that we will need to chisel away. So this is an absolute maximum that we can raise this while still retaining the possibility to have heat insulation, in this area. And heat insulation in this case is going to be important. And if I were to, let me just move over here. Wait, this is always tricky. If I go here, yeah, and then we climb up. There we go. So now I'm on top of or my head is above the metal area, the metal roof sheathing, and you can actually see the tiles, right? And you can see that's a ceiling. And you can see this is the neighbor's wall, the tiles, and the area above the kitchen, right? So not a lot of space, and we barely are capable of adding this in the first place. I think that's it in terms of the first floor. Let's look at the second floor. Am I centered? Yes, I am. A little bit back. Perfect. So we are not making any drastic changes to the second floor. If I were to look at how it existed before, this is exactly what you see here with the staircase, going down. I didn't, model the nice drawings that we have on these sliding doors, but these will be used. The thing that we are changing, or things that we are changing, are where is it? Oh, there it is. The heat exchange system, the HVAC system. Of course, wall washers and so on, blah, blah, blah. New spotlights, hidden wires, all of that. But most importantly, this is air intake, or sorry, this gives air. This also gives air because the air intake is actually in the kitchen area, which means that the whole air circulates inside of the building. This blows air, that takes air. And the way it works is, if I were to just kind of step awkwardly inside of the wall. Oh, okay. We have our roof right here, but below the roof, if this works out, yeah, you can see all of the piping there and so on. There's no light, so it's hard to show, but a diagram will do it justice once we actually start looking at the drawings. I'll put it on the screen, of course. And then here we don't make any changes whatsoever to the building. This is above our it's not Angava, is it? It's why every time I hit record, all of the Japanese terms just escape my head. Anyway, the terrace, right? So this is above the terrace. Then this whole block is the toilet or the bathroom, including the shower area. And then in the back, with the transparent material, you can see the backyard, right? The one that has the cooling aggregates or cooling machines. Words are hard. Okay, I need to recenter. There we go. And turn. Okay, so now I can talk. The sun. The sun is actually March 21st of any year. Sunlight, afternoon sun, that is, precise for this particular region. So this is accurately, portrays how the whole area would be lit up. That's the south, and that's what we get, meaning that this area would be shaded. But the nice part is that our bathroom area, as well as the garden and so on, even though it would be indirect sunlight, but during noon at least it would be direct, it would receive a considerable amount of sunlight, even in March of not 2021, March 21st, right? And that's, I guess, kind of it about the current state of things. Of course, this does not mean, am I centered? I am. Of course, this does not mean that we will be stopping here, right? This is just the first, or actually the second phase of the reconstruction project, where we are building up or rebuilding the whole building into a state, into a modern state, into a stable state, a state that has full air control, moisture control, heat control. Everything is heat insulated, structurally sound. There's no earthquake problems, and so on, right? So that's the aim with this. Next stages, once this is done, is going to be our design, right? The design, the small interventions that we would do with our design. For example, here, in this area, why not remove this section of the clay infill, right? And replace it with some sort of a beautiful architectural, artistic pattern, right? That could be done with computer computationally. It could be handcrafted. Doesn't really matter as long as it fits with the overall aesthetic of the house. And that is, this is us basically creating a modern, beautiful blank slate for us to, and not just us, also our architect friends and designer friends, to create small artistic interventions with this building, right? While still retaining, of course, the aesthetic of it. I guess with this being said, enough of VR. My head starts hurting from it after a while, and instead let's move on to actually looking at the drawings and me explaining the drawings and what we have sent over to the contractors to calculate the cost. And now, for the last bit, we're going to actually look at the PDF that was sent over to the contractors to receive like a proper quote, the price estimate as to how much this kind of a project would cost. In the PDF, I do have it right now on the screen, and we're going to go through it point by point. One thing that I should note or repeat is that the design proposed here is not the final design. That is going to come a little bit later. But instead it's a good enough design to give a sense of how much work needs to be done for us to receive the price estimate, and also the general things about this design will not change in the future. It's only the details that will change. So the first page of the PDF has this process breakdown, phasing basically, as to how we expect the whole process to work or to look like. Currently, we're at phase 0, which is architectural renovation project making, right? And then once that is done, we move on to demolition, right? So we begin by removing the parts, removing the part of the roof, removing the back, the room in the backyard, right? And that is subdivided into smaller tasks. Then once that is done, and we're preparing to do it in June of 2025, once that is done, we begin structural work, plumbing, and electrical work, right? That starts in July. So the demolition will take place over the course of a month. The structural work I expect to take around a year to do, because in Japan the driest season is winter, and it's a smart idea to enclose the building, the envelope of the building during the winter, right? Which means that the third phase and the final phase of at least this part of the construction is going to be interior, exterior finish work that will begin on the summer of 2026. And now we can move on to the next page. 1 second. There we go. So the next page indicates what should be demolished in terms of the first floor, we have an axo as well as we have the plan. Very simple, very diagrammatic, simply portraying that, you know, the backside, the backyard area, as well as these two walls listed here as well as here, should be removed, should be demolished, right? With a few explanations here. Also notice that everything that I write in English, I also translate to Japanese, just in case, you know. Then for the second floor, we demolish the balcony. We remove the balcony, as well as we remove the whole left-hand side of the roof, right? This whole part will be reconstructed. So the roof is also removed. Then here, what we have is a proposed plan. And this is literally everything that we have walked through in the VR experience, right? So I won't be kind of going through the plan as it is, but generally speaking, you can see here the extension into the corridor. There used to be a corridor here, so now there is an extension in here where we have two tables, right? We have our kitchen area right here, and generally speaking, you know, a planned out back room with some space for the garden. So that's our first plan. Our second plan is quite straightforward. We don't really touch much with it. The balcony is gone, and also we are slicing a little bit through the little roof on the left-hand side that we had, and which also shows the ventilation shafts and so on, right? Then we have the electrical, right? So this consists of both the electrical switches, the lamps, and all of the, you know, electrical installations, right? So you can see the spotlights in here, in the back garden, in the front garden. You can see some luminaries here in the tatami rooms, and some wall washers attached to the walls, right? That is pretty much straightforward, with all of the switches corresponding to which switch turns on which light, right? This is quite important just to show the amount of electrical wiring that the contractor should expect to do. Same thing for the second floor, we move forward. This is important. This is our proposed HVAC system. Those of you who are professionals in HVAC systems who are listening to this video or watching this video, let me know if we're being a little bit stupid with this, if this is a little bit of an overkill. We want energy recovery ventilation, ERV units, placed here with the external HVAC unit here, so that it can cool down, heat up, ventilate the space, and also control humidity, and also be completely hidden away, right? If this is a little bit of an overkill, let me know in the comments. I'm doing the YouTuber thing. And from there on out, it's mostly renders with spots showing where the render was taken from, for them to kind of get the understanding of how does the space look like. The VR experience will not be sent over to them because it requires a special setup, right? So the front yard, the front facade, the backyard with the roof in focus, the plastic sheathing, right, for the area where we have the external HVAC unit, the backyard. It is Angava, isn't it? I think it's called Angava, right? Our little onsen spot from the bathtub, the view from the bathtub. The nice in praise of shadows moment. Another nice in praise of shadows moment. And so on, right? I will be going through this a little bit quicker now. You have seen all of this in the VR portion of the video. Most interesting area here, I think, is this. So this is that roof under which the HVAC system is located, right? Which connects to both the second floor as well as below the first floor. And also here, this was where I was talking about the heat insulation and there being really minimal area here for us to move the roof up, right? So that's why our Genkan, our entry area, is so low in ceiling height. Probably will need to make the step lower. And that's it. This is the last slide, right? So with all of with this document, this is enough for the contractor to produce a quote for us. And once the quote is done, we will be, either accepting it or continue searching for a contractor that's cheaper. Most likely we will accept the quote from the first contractor that we will receive it from, because that contractor specializes in renovation of this kind of particular Machiya. Once we have a connection to them, then for sure I will list them in either the video description, or I will note them in the future videos before we begin working with them. And with that being said, this is where we're at currently with the project. We are really excited. I think the design works and everything kind of fits together, even though it's not a huge building, but it seems like it's going to work out, and there's a lot of potential for making something quite beautiful. And I guess that's it. I will see you in a month in the next video. Bye. Next month's video is already out on Patreon. If you support the channel, you can see it now. And also ask me questions here.